The reason it takes so long to learn these languages. Now I'm gonna say this again. I'm walking in Cebu, and all of a song plays, and 1,000 people stop. And the song is Mayusko Mabuhay Pagsasamo mo Habang mabuhay Habang mabuhay Sa'yo Habibigay. Now, that song has to be over 200 years old. So I found a version of that song from the 1930s, and it had to predate that. Okay, now there are songs that are like in the American lexicon that are like nearly 1,000 years old. Okay, it's like the national anthem of the United States. My country, 'tis of thee, land of sweet liberty. Okay, now, God save the Queen. So someone just wrote my country, 'tis of thee. They used the same exact music, and instead of saying God save the Queen or God save the King, depending on who's in power, they swapped it with country. My country, 'tis of thee. Okay, whether you like to believe it or not, that's the way it goes. And the reason why it goes that way in music is because there are only a limited number of instrumental sounds that you can make. Back in the 1980s, there was a crisis in American music, and everyone spoke about it. Mick Jagger talked about it, Madonna talked about it, Prince talked about it, and Mick Jagger was probably the person who was most articulate on the issue. He said, I make these songs, and people have to read the songs to know what I am saying. He said, because today, and he was honest, he said today music is just remake of music that was made in an earlier year, but in those years they had good and proper diction. Like you'll hear someone sing, a tisket, a tasket, a little yellow basket, or you hear Doris Day or Patsy Cline, or you go back even further, and the music is clear. But you go back to amateur music when you can get a recording, or if you go to a really, really remote place, like back in the old days when, you used to have to go to summer camp and everyone sang around the campfire. What a really great musician sounds like is that they sound like a chorus. So you get 1,000 voices together, and and the good voices drowned out the bad voices, and it sounds beautiful. And as the song goes along, it sounds even more beautiful because the bad voices come into tune with the good voices. So what a great singer actually is, even though they appear to be singing a cappella or they appear to be singing solo, is that they're attempting to produce an anthem and then everyone is singing it. Like I Will Always Love You, the Dolly Parton song. I mean, everybody on earth knows that song. The song, the French song, Je t'aime, je t'aime, je t'aime. I love you now. I loved you then, and I will always love you. And I've said this in several videos, and I don't remember the. And I keep Cabal. I mean, everybody knows that song. And then there's songs that are just like that in every language. It's like one of my favorite remakes is John Wayne, Green Beret. Fighting men up in the sky. Okay, that is a German song about German soldiers and their travail and hardship at war. So whoever made the movie, and this is in 1965 when the smolders of World War II were still burning and there was still a lot of resentment against the Nazis, they take a song that is definitely from the war era that German soldiers had to be aware of and were singing and make it into a song, the Green Beret. Absolutely antithetical to the cause that they were quote unquote fighting for in Vietnam. The anti-authoritarian, anti-communist rhetoric that was going on in that movie. Okay, so that's why this stuff is so hard. You're going to be walking someplace in a French-speaking territory. In this case, we're talking about Quebec and the Quebecois. And you're going to be walking, and people are going to be, they're going to be mentioning, like in this case, for some reason it popped to English, but here's the video that I referenced it from. Let me expand it. And so what this guy is talking about is Terry Maurice. And he's talking about Terry Maurice and whatever impact that she had in 1992 in Quebec. And let me tell you, this lady, I mean, she can really sing. And I just heard that song. Let's see if we can hear a little bit of this. Now, that's as much as I'm going to play because maybe it'll get a copyright strike or something of that sort. But the point of it is that if you hear this music playing, you have got to be accustomed to it. You know, you have got to be used to this so that when it comes up in point of cultural reference, you don't say, oh, God, what is that you're playing? Oh, I don't like that song. See, you could be, because what happens is that you could be expressing an opinion about someone's wedding song or about someone's funeral song. That could have marked any day of remembrance in a person's life. And so you want to be you if anything, when you hear someone playing a piece of music, you want to be complimentary. So that means that, like, who's the guy from Peru, the great Peruvian musician? Well, there's a great Peruvian musician, and he used to be popular like 20 years ago. Or you got Gustavo Cerati, who's very popular in Argentina. Or you got Ambrogioso in Portugal. I mean, he's like a god. You know, you got Keisha that comes out of Congo. You know, you have Tuxi, if I'm saying his name right, and he comes out of that place that's now not Rhodesia, but I always listen to their music, but it used to be Rhodesia. I mean, and he's just brilliant. And then you have Marian Mubarak that comes like out of South Africa. So you have all of these great musicians, and you're gonna say, well, you know, Oliver Tuxi, he's dead, but his daughter isn't. His son Sam made great music, and in my mind, they are the greatest musical history. They're the greatest musical family ever. That family has produced great musicians, Sam, Oliver, and the daughter, Selma. I mean, I don't know how they do it. and they're not riding on each other's coattails. Oliver sounds like Oliver, the father. Sam sounds like Sam, and Seymour sounds like Seymour. They're different, and their music is different. Not from the standpoint that they can't do their father's songs, but if they do their father's songs, they add something to it. Now, so that's how great they are. So, and so the reason it takes a lifetime, again, to learn these languages is because you have to not just add words, vocabulary, and grammar. You must have context. So, like, I'll give you an example. The Weekend, and his question: does The Weekend sing in French? Now you know that Celine Dion, or however you say her name, Celine Dion, you know that she sings in English. But does The Weeknd sing in French? And what you find out about these musicians, what you find out about the musicians is all of the musicians that you think of in everyday life, even the rappers, always have cultural reference across cultures. You know, they always do. And when you look at all of the languages, you find out that practically everybody you know has made a song in another language with another prominent musician of another country, and they sound good in the singing of it. That's why Dalila is a goddess, because she was born in Egypt. She became like a supermodel. She's extremely beautiful. She sung in Arabic, French, English, Italian, what else? And she might have sang in other languages, and in all of these languages she was proficient. And if not the best singer to have existed, when you consider all of the languages in which she sung. Now, my favorite musician, and I think that the battle is over. It used to be 20 years ago that the question was in Italian, who was better, Laura Pausini or the other lady? And I used to know the other lady's name off the tip of my tongue, but Pausini is so incredible that Pausini has put that to rest. Pausini, beautiful in English, excellent in French, beautiful in Spanish, beautiful in Italian, and I think she may sing in Greek also. You watch her, and she's on a talent show that comes in Mexico, and man, like a talent show, one of those musical talent shows, and her insights and articulation on what's going on in Mexican culture is like nothing you've ever heard, because she's coming from Italy. And even though you don't believe it, when it comes to music, you gotta say the Italians, the Neapolitans, the Filipinos, and that country that used to be Rhodesia. No, those four countries, when it comes to music, either those four countries make new music, and every other country steals their melodies and their words. You're gonna say, oh no, 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 no. And especially, and I'm leaving out the French, but I'm telling you, those four countries absolutely dominate music, and they probably dominated music forever, for 10,000 years, and we just haven't noticed it. You know. Now, I listen to some songs that are 6,000 years old, and they're wonderful. But you've got to listen to everything across time. It's like you read from 450,000 years ago forward. Same thing in music. You listen from as far back as you can forward. You like put music to the Songs of Solomon and go forward. You don't go back. Now in Jewish music, and they deserve to be in the top four also, but top four is top four. Like the song Hallelujah, and you look at all of the great music, particularly from the Baroque period, and you'll find time and time again that there's a Jewish musician that has inspired it, a Jewish Hebrew speaking musician. Because when you put Hebrew to verse, put it in song, it is just breathtaking, beautiful. Okay, takes a lifetime. Greek, oh, untouchably beautiful when you're talking about mythology sung in Greek. So you can imagine yourself at a Greek theater 3,000 years ago, and an Oedipus Rex is there, and you have that chorus in the back singing, because they didn't have special effects, but they had the chorus. And the chorus was wild and unpredictable. It could sing songs, but the chorus also could have scathing criticism of the performance that was going on the stage, or they could ride along with the theme of the show and support. So it was unpredictable. That chorus is what made it like what we would call today special effects. So I'm gonna keep watching this. And now look at this particular playlist that I gotta deal with. See, now the whole playlist, and look at this. Okay, so Kosciuszko, Le Foller de Pour Roman. I gotta see that. I just absolutely gotta read that. Now, look at this. The history of toilets. I've got to read that. I've got to see that. And then look at this. Lafayette and his statement in America, it's indecent to be different. So here's the thing. So now my reading list has totally turned French. I got one little thing that I gotta watch in English, Geo's little breakup, but that's gonna take seconds, and I'm gonna, probably block that guy for just talking nonsense. But that's how it goes. That's what happens with a language. It gets to the point where, you have got to just, where you exclude all other languages and you just deal with it. But now, in Spanish, I don't have to think about it. I just don't have to think about it. Now, if I were to just be talking Spanish, I would have to think about it. But I don't do that anymore. I just listen. So, same thing in English. If I went and I had to talk English, I'd have difficulty because I would have to think. Talk Portuguese, I'd have to think. But just listening to it, I only have to think about. Well, I don't have to think. I just have to listen. I don't even have to understand. I can just put it there someplace internally and save it for later, even if I don't understand it. See, what's going on is that everything, and let me see if I'm gonna hit one of these, and we'll hit this guy again.
Ma mère m'a souvent
Okay, maybe.
raconté que quand elle était enceinte de moi, mes frères et sœurs mettaient un casque sur son ventre pour que je puisse écouter de la musique.
Okay, see, what you guys are doing is everything you hear you want to understand. And everything you say you want it to be coherent. Okay, that's not how the world works. You have to have, and unfortunately it's called input. And that's like a really stupid word. Unfortunately, what you have to have is experience. You have to have experience within the culture. It's like if you are playing baseball or you're watching a baseball game, you can watch it, but if you never played baseball, you don't understand the fear of standing in the batter's box. You can watch that hitter. You can watch that pitcher. You don't play baseball. You don't understand when you are a pitcher and that screaming line drive is coming at you. You can watch it. You can observe it, but you don't know the fear of it. And you can say, well, you're talking about big league. I played little league. Well, if you play little league, you understand what it's like to play baseball. And the earlier you start practicing at baseball, the more you understand and the more success you have at it. Well, this is the exact same way with language. The younger you start experiencing language, the better you get at it, and you die incomplete. See, you read the great writers, and the great writers are always going to leave something unfinished, and they are always going to say that they died incomplete. You look at the great scientists, they're always going to say that they were one theory away from solving it all, and they died too early. Whenever you hear a biography of a great person, that's always going to be said. You know, like Jimmy Carter, who just passed. I am sure that he died and left his life incomplete. There was something else at the Carter Center that he wanted to have done that he couldn't do personally yesterday, and that the Carter Center must continue. That's why it's called an institution. So, yeah, you have a limited lifespan. I have a limited lifespan. I understand that. But the institutions and the nations live on forever. No, not absolutely forever, because even the universe ends, we think, but an institution can have an eternal life. So we have to live for that sake. And we have to live our lives in support of those institutions. Now, I'm not saying that I always believe that and I always practice that, but you know what? When you get old and you get close to having that dirt shoveled on you, all of a sudden you say, man, this is what Steve Allen was talking about on public broadcasting on that show, The Meeting of the Minds. That's what he was talking about. Now I got it. Now, the people who didn't watch him and just watched soccer, oh, Pele, yeah, go! They just watched that. They didn't watch any other thing except for, who was the greatest quarterback? Who was the greatest basketball player? Who was the greatest baseball player? Who was the greatest guy on the pitch? Their life in terms of the mind goes so fast, because once Pele is no longer playing, they have to invent someone else to idolize. Their star is in retirement and he's still alive, but to them, he's dead. And that's so tragic when you focus all of your life on something that's so ephemeral, like sport, or even something that's even more ephemeral, like politics. This king was my king. Richard III, he was my king, and there will never be another one like him. This guy who preached, he was the preacher of all preachers, and there'll never be another preacher like him. He died and he went to heaven on a white stallion, and there'll never be another one like him. See, when you get into that, there will never be another one like him. There'll never be another Jesus Christ. There'll never be another one like him. He was the Son of God. I mean, when you get into that, there will never be another one like him. How can humanity continue? That's why all ideas that say that there will never be another one like him, they are always millenarial. They always have a expiration date. Oh, Hitler, there will never be another one like him. We have to form the Third Reich right now. Let the 1,000 years begin. There'll never be another one like him. See? When you talk about the life of the individual and not the life of the institution, or you try to intertwine the both, you're always gonna run into a serious problem. People live, people die, institutions continue. The preservation of the institution is what counts. You want to understand French? You've got to understand the particulars. You've got to understand the social chorus. So this lady, La Triste Historia of this lady, Les Chansons Oubliées, the forgotten songs, she still resonates in Terre Maurice. She still resonates in French. They haven't forgotten her, so if you're learning French, you can't forget her. There's more to this game than words and vocabulary.